Hello everyone, this is Tanya with Peddler's Den. I'm back to show you a quick work along with the layered pine cone stencils. This is probably the fastest and easiest layered stencil set that I've ever used. I'm going to first secure a larger piece of paper to my board here. I kind of like to do that. I like to work on a big piece of cardstock, and then when I'm done I can go back and I can cut it all up. Now on this one I'm not sure it matters a lot whether you start with the pine cones or the needles, but I do need to make sure that I've got these all going the right way. And usually I mark my stencils. If you were with me for the last one, you know that normally I mark my stencils. And this set isn't marked, so I've got to figure it out. But this is why I normally mark my stencils. Okay, there we go. So I think we'll go ahead and start with the pine cones. Yeah, it doesn't really matter which way you do it. If you were with me with the last one, I'm going to secure my stencil to my cardstock, and I like it so that it's hinged, so that as we're working we can flip it up and take a look at it. Now on the cards that I showed you, on these cards I actually only used one brown ink and one green ink, and I like them very much. You can use one or you can use two. I am going to start out with using just one, and then maybe we can compare the results with two. So if I'm going to do just one, I'm going to go directly to my darkest brown, and I'm going to pick up and I'm going to start to brush some of the brown onto my pine cone. Now I'm going to want it to be darker on one side and lighter on another. If you look at this, you can see it that gives us the idea that there's dimension. So I'm going to brush it more this way and let it feather out, because I keep starting over here. This edge is inherently going to be darker, and then as I go across it's going to gradually get lighter. And we're going to do that down here too, because this is the one where we're going to just use one shade of brown. And one of the things with these work-alongs is sometimes there's not a lot to say. I haven't seen any comments. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not sure the live is working properly. But we're going to just roll with it and hope for the best. Now, one of the things that I mentioned on the last one is I kind of like to have a position edge, and that happens when you go off of the plastic stencil and you get kind of a positioning mark, which is handy if you ever want to go back later and add some more color. It gives you a really easy lineup. So you can see how each one of mine is, there's a dark edge and then it feathers out into the lighter one. And this is my substitute when I'm wanting to do it quickly for using multiple colors of ink. I think it's very effective. And I rarely have people say, oh, but I wanted to spend more time fiddling with it. You know, people tend to appreciate when there's a fast and easy way. They tend to appreciate learning that. So that's what we're doing. I'm darkening up some of the darkers because we do want that variance. Let's get some dark on this edge right here. And then let that feather out a little bit into the lighter. Well, let's see what it looks like. See, you've got dark feathering into light on pretty much all of them. I'm going to gently remove this one. Set it aside because we're probably going to be going back to it. Try to line this up. Before I use the stencil again, I am going to mark it. But for the time being, this is going to work fine. Okay, again, I like to secure them, but I like to secure them in a way that it is hinged. Now, since we're not using 2 shades of green, we're going to jump right to our darker shade. This is my jungle green. And there's not as much opportunity to really make a lot of gradient with the pine needles because, you know, let's face it, they're kind of skinny and what have you. So on the one here that we're not going to use more than one color, we're just going to kind of drop some quick color in. And then we're going to fold it back and we're going to see what it looks like. And when I get a lot of ink up on the plastic, then I just kind of pull it on down onto the paper. Let's see. Let's see what that looks like. Look at that. I mean, seriously, that was crazy fast, right? All right, now what I'm going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to play a little bit. And we're going to do a second one. I don't know if we really need 2 shades of green, but we're going to definitely use 2 shades of the brown, and you'll see the difference. So I'm going to use a second piece of paper here. I'm going to secure it to my board. And this is Crafters tape. We sell it. It's great for stenciling. All right, let's see. We're going to go back. And I I have not cleaned my stencil, and since we're going to be using that shade of brown again, I don't think it's that important to clean the stencil. But I should probably, yeah, it'll be fine. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use some oak brown this time. Now it's, of our browns, it's the lighter shade. We made this edge darker on the other one. I'm going to try to kind of work backwards, and we're going to put in the light. We're going to put the light in, and I'm going to kind of do it on the edge that was supposed to be lighter last time too. I am pulling some of the darker ink off of the stencil plastic, but I'm not real worried about that. If you watched my last stencil video, I guess you're probably going to come away feeling like I'm a little bit of a sloppy stenciler. But to me, stenciling is meant to be kind of fast and easy. I don't want to spend a lot of time working on it, especially if I can get something I like a lot faster. Let's see, this was the lighter side. Just now I'm just adding a little bit of tone so that we do get layered color. All right, let's see what that looks like. Now, if you compare the two, you can see that this is a lighter brown than this, okay? Now I'm going to come back with my other brush and my other brown ink. And let's see, it's always a question of where do you want your darkest darks and where do you want your lightest lights. Let's see what this looks like. Okay. Now I'm going to try something else while I'm here. This is my first ink pad. What does that look like? Okay. I thought that might have been a little bit weak. And I think it probably was a little weak. I'm going to come back and I'm going to boost the color on this one up too. Let's see what that looks like. Oh yeah. When we're all done here, I'm just going to go around and I'm going to boost the color on most of these. When we're all done here, we will compare the two so that you can see the difference. Okay, so we've boosted up our lighter shade here, and then let's see, let's put a little bit of dark over here. let's go over here. Let's go dark over on the edge here. And which side do we want dark on? Let's go like maybe here. Maybe a little bit here on the bottom. All right, let's see what it looks like. All right, so you can definitely see the different shades of the brown, okay? So I'm going to carefully peel this off now. And trying hard to keep my brushes and my ink pads straight so that I don't cross-contaminate. I'm going to take our pine needles and we're going to kind of line it up. Okay. Now I don't think it's going to be nearly as effective, but we're going to try to go back and we're going to try to use a little bit of the light green and then the dark green. And honestly, the needles are so thin that I'm not sure you're going to see the variance on the needles like you would see on the pine cones. But we're going to do it anyway. Oops. And I'm just putting the lightest touch down here. I don't see any comments. But if you do comment and I'm not able to respond while I'm demonstrating, I will come back later and read all the comments and respond then. Okay, so that is a lighter green than what we used the first time. And you can see it's just a hint of a lighter shade here. And then we're going to use our, let's see, this is my dark one. This is my jungle green. This is darker. Now we're going to come back and we're going to add some deeper values. And again, because I'm using a relatively large brush and the needles are real skinny, we're not putting a lot of ink down. Now, like in the last video, if you need more control, you need to use some of the smaller brushes. But I like the results I get like this with this stencil. And we're going to compare the first one we did with this one here momentarily. This is far and away the fastest, easiest layered stencil I've ever used. So let's kind of look and see what we got here. Isn't that pretty? Now, we're going to compare our first one with our second one. And I got random tape grabbing things. That's never a good thing. And let me just trim this so we can set them side by side. Okay, now you can see a real side-by-side comparison. So this was using 1 shade of brown, 1 shade of green. This is using 2 shades of brown, 2 shades of green. I think we can all agree that that by adding the extra shade, it really enriches the color, it enriches the dimension, and honestly it took almost the same length of time. Hi Sandy. Oh, I'm so glad you like it. I'm so glad I finally have a comment. I wasn't sure anybody was watching. On that note, though, the videos are going to stay on the site for a while, so any of you that bought kits that can't be with us for the live, there's going to be plenty of opportunity. Now, I really like that. But like I said, blending multiple colors, layering colors, you always get a nicer look. So these are the examples that I had shown you. The kits do not include the sentiments, but we did give you extra green paper so that you can frame sentiments out if you want to. But I like this because here I have shown just taking one of the tiles and just, using most of it. Just trim it up, mount it on your card, and go. But you can get more cards out of one tile by doing something like this. Here you can cut strips, and you can do something like this and actually get more bang for your money. Let me see. How do you know where to apply the darker brown? Oh, honey, that's what I call artist interpretation. You being the artist, you get to choose that. There really isn't a right and a wrong. I tend to think of it as, okay, I did darker here because to me these would be casting shadows on each other. Down here I actually wrapped it around a little bit because, I'm thinking this is down below and maybe we're casting a shadow up here. But let's be realistic. Even if there are no shadows involved, pine cones have variances of the shades throughout the entire pine cone. So there aren't any wrong ways of doing it. No matter how you would divide those colors, it's going to end up looking beautiful. So I hope that answered the question. Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate it. Now in the kits, I've included some bling. Everybody got some bling. When I do panels, if I just had the verse and I just had the panel, it would look unfinished. You need a little bit of bling. And I just kind of scattered my bling around. Everybody's kit has some bling in it, so you can scatter to your heart's delight or not. But yeah, one of the things I wanted to show in this work along is the difference between using 1 shade of brown and 2 shades of brown, 1 shade of green and 2 shades of green. You really do get a much more beautiful, richer interpretation when you use more colors. Let's see, let's see. Okay, well, for the most part, that's the work along. We actually have one unsold kit, and I believe it has used stencils in it. All of the other ones sold out, but there is still one available. If anybody needs any extra bling, or you like my ink colors, you want my inks, this was a combination of oak brown and dark brown, and this is a combination of fern green and jungle green. So I think that wraps it up for today. Thanks for being with me. Like I said, this will remain on the site for a while, and please reach out to me if you have any other questions. Thank you so much. Goodbye now.